Hello guys, welcome to our channel where you know that we dive into the fascinating world of artificial intelligence, and this time I am so glad to have a very special guest, Evan Armstrong, who is the mind behind the innovative Augment Toolkit. Augment Toolkit is revolutionizing how we approach data generation, offering an easy to use, customizable, open source, and cost effective solution for turning any raw text into a high quality data set. This tool simplifies data gathering, making it a seamless step in the model creation process and also training and fine tuning. There are a lot of use cases. I did a video on this last week and it was a blast. And I know that I need to do another one, a follow up with the examples, and I promise I'll do it. But one thing I can tell you, the tool really, you know, blew my mind away, and I have done like thousands of videos on such tools. And I can assure you, without any strings, I'm not really taking any commission from Evan, and he can confirm that tool is fabulous. Please do try it out. I'll put the link in video's description. Evan, to kick the things off, first, thank you so much for joining us. Very appreciative of your time. I know you are in Vancouver, British Columbia, where it is a bit late. I'm in Sydney, Australia, so it is daytime for me. Could you please share your origins? How did you get into computing generally? And what initially sparked your interest in AI and data science?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me over. So my journey into AI is an interesting one. Like I started out programming, and I was like most of like my late high school and early university like was spent programming. I always saw AI as being this very intimidating field, like where like only like PhDs and very funded companies can play around with it. Um, then ChatGPT came out. I was like, well, okay, I might as well bite the bullet now. So I went and started learning with online courses. I started reading papers. Andre Karpathy's videos helped a lot. He's awesome. Um, Trained my first QLoRa in summer of that year, and then I got into creating models. And when I was creating models, I needed data for the models, and so I started using GPT to generate the data synthetically. But that was really expensive for a university student. So AugmenToolkit was the natural evolution of that. It's like I have a gaming computer. I should be able to generate data with that computer locally. And so getting open source models to work with data generation, that was the natural next step. Yeah.
Awesome. Beautiful. What was your first model, by the way, which you created? What was the name of
Um,
it?
oh yeah, so the first model, I don't actually think I published. It was a fine tune of one of the Bloom Z models. I took my personal notes, like I have a like a keyboard shortcut on my computer that just opens a text file and saves it in a special folder. I took all the personal notes I'd written, and
Cool.
organizing these. I have so many of these that organizing them is a difficult thing. So I was like, I should make an LLM to write titles for these. So I filtered out the notes that didn't have that had titles, and then made the titles the labels, and then the text of the note the input. And
Nice.
so I fine-tuned one of the small Bloom Z models to write titles. The first real model I made took the text of a visual novel called Steins Gate, used GPT-4 to transform it into instructor tuning data, and then um, like I used that instructor tuning data to fine tune the model. Actually, no. The first model I made that wasn't very good did that on a slightly more uh, kind of esoteric, I guess, uh, a less popular VN called Mavlov. Um, After that, I did Steins Gate. That model was actually semi-decent. And from there,
Cool.
I improved the pipeline, and yeah, I got to Augment Toolkit after like two or three more iterations.
Awesome. Beautiful. So, for those unfamiliar with AI, and I can assure you there are a lot of people who are unfamiliar with AI, and especially when you start delving deep into it. For the mere mortals like me, could you kindly explain? Could you please explain in layman's term how Augment Toolkit transforms raw text into high quality data sets and why this is a game changer in the field?
Okay, sure. So so that's the thing with AI. It's like it sounds very scary, but it's like it's actually decently simple, especially now that we have ChatGPT and LLMs being as they are. You don't need to know, like you don't need to be an expert in AI to be able to build something cool with it or to understand it. So Augment Toolkit, basically to teach a model something, you need to to teach them all something, you need to do what's called instruct tuning. So there are like three main steps in creating a model. There's pre-training, then there's instruction tuning, and then there's RLHF. So pre-training is where you just feed models internet, like just unstructured text. There's no there is rhyme and reason to it, but it's not like a conversation between a human user and an AI assistant. Then you have the instruct tuning where you so the pre-training gives it like the knowledge and understanding of the world. Then instruct tuning teaches it to have a conversation about specific things in a specific way. Then there's reinforcement learning with human feedback, which is like kind of how you bias the responses towards a specific style. And AugmenToolkit focuses on the middle part of this, instruct tuning. Now, instruction tuning at data, you need data for this step, like something that you can actually feed into the model. Instruct tuning data typically is written by handwritten by human data annotators, which does not scale very well, especially if you're some random hacker in your apartment working on creating models yourself. You don't have time to write all that instruct tuning data yourself. You need thousands of these model quality scales with data quantity. So AugmenToolkit takes the data from the first step, the pre-training data, like textbooks or manuals or any text with information in it, and converts it into a conversation it writes a conversation based on the text where a human is asking questions based off of the information in this text, and an AI character answers using the information of the text. And validation and all that ensures that hallucinations do not make the quality very, very bad. Validation is about half the pipeline. So AugmenToolkit is a game changer because it makes this very valuable kind of data, instruct tuning data, which is not very common. It allows you to generate it with compute, and it allows you to make certain that it is high quality and doesn't have tons of hallucinations in it, which is a problem with synthetic data.
True. So, okay, that is great, really. Now, you mentioned, and very, very nicely put, by the way, that there is a pre-training, then there is a instruction tuned, and then RLHF. So normally there are LLMs which require the data set in different format. So how do you cater to that?
So could you clarify, like different format? Do you mean like
Yeah, I mean,
different
so
like data?
yeah, so
Like
for yeah, so sometimes you need or let's put it in a more basic form, that sometimes you need data sets in different formats. So does Augment Toolkit allows us to customize the data sets as per our own requirement?
So when you say different formats, do you mean like you want like this in shared GPT format, or like the formatting of how the like
Yes, correct.
like
Yeah.
alpaca like prompt format,
Yes,
or like
yes.
yeah. Okay, so Augment Toolkit outputs like JSON, where like for each step in the conversation.
Yeah,
That outputs a few things. It does output shared GPT by default, if you know that data format. Uh, Otherwise, if you have a list of messages, like user message asking a question, assistant message providing an answer, that can be passed through pretty much any prompt formatter
sure.
to get the format you want. There are so many
Got it.
formats out
Yeah,
there, and
true.
more being added every time a paper comes out. So like,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's it gives you if you're investing the time in making a model, asking GPT-4 to take some JSON and output some text in a specific format is like way faster than
Yeah,
like
very trivial. I
I can't
agree.
support it all myself. That's way too much.
Absolutely. Totally makes sense. Absolutely. Now, considering this evolving landscape of AI, where you also hinted in last answer, how do you ensure that Augment Toolkit remains innovative and ahead of its competitors?
Very good question. Okay, so there are a few aspects to this. Being Firstly, let's talk about the competitors. So like data generation is typically either done by humans, or it's entirely synthetic. You have stuff like Aeroboros, I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. It's a thing that John Durbin does, which is like it gets GPT-4 to generate a huge amount of data, but it's purely synthetic. It doesn't have any text as input. Until today, I haven't seen a single data generation tool that uses human text as the input. So they run the risks of stuff like model collapse and like overfitting on GPT style, etc. That's one thing that differentiates AugmentToolkit significantly. Um, also, it's also in terms of competitors, AugmenToolkit is an open source project. It's not like, besides my uh, like doing stuff custom for clients, it's not really competing. It's just trying to move the field
Yeah,
forward. Um,
makes sense.
yeah, but like so the differentiation in that it takes human written text as input, that allows for more customization as well.
Yeah,
Then it
true.
has the fact that it's not really like competing against solutions. It's offering more utility and freedom of choice to model creators. Um, Thirdly, I've not stopped working on it. I mean, I know there are some bugs. I think I'm working on the repo to resolve some of the edge cases, but I have some more projects in the works using
Nice.
AugmenToolkit on specific niches where
Cool.
no one else is building stuff to help the people in those niches.
Okay.
So more on
I'm
that soon. That's
intrigued.
exciting.
I'm intrigued, but I'm not going to ask you that business secret. Maybe we can take it offline. Now, uh, open source tools have a unique place in the development community. We all know that. We all love it. What exactly motivated you to make Augment Toolkit open source, and how has the community contributed to its development as of now?
Oh yeah, sure. So I found that the best way to learn stuff is to do it like up to a certain extent. So like my approach to learning things is typically to read enough of the theory and do enough like actual like courses, etc., that I have some like kind of a loose formal understanding, a high level formal understanding. And then I build stuff until I find what I'm interested in and then just keep specializing in that niche. So Augment Toolkit was really trying to mostly originally it started out as like it was going to be a weekend project. It ended up taking 4 months, but I was trying to just learn more from it and then put it out there in case someone found it interesting. um,
Nice.
Selling something is difficult, so I was like, back then I was still doing classes in university, so I was like, I didn't want to go and like spend a bunch of time doing sales on something that I thought wouldn't be very polished and get big. That has since changed, and like that's where the specialized niche things come in. That's like
Absolutely. Yeah.
something that's coming up in the future. But really, it was a problem that I had and that everyone I talked, all the people I knew on the Blokes Discord like had. It was just it's a perennial issue for open source model creators. It's like you can either write it yourself and write the data yourself and spend
True.
months, or you bankrupt yourself spending cash on GPT-4. And
Yeah.
every day I would go to r/localemma and I'd see people posting about their massive GPU rigs, which are no doubt sitting idle most of the time. It's like these things could be making the foundation of the next big models. And
True.
we in this community we all use open source LLMs, and if those can be better, if I have an idea that can help make those better, then I should pursue it. I should open it up to other people too. It's been very good that I open sourced it because like a ton of people have come to me with very interesting ideas and opportunities, such as yourself, in fact, since I've open sourced it. So yeah, basically the situation didn't really make sense for me to try and not open source it, and open sourcing is cool.
So, so reflecting on your this journey of making Augment Toolkit, you hinted at some of the issues you faced, but what were some of the biggest challenges you faced while developing this, and how did you overcome them?
Oh yeah, okay, this is a great one. So I started out prompting with OpenAI, as I mentioned. Prompting, and anyone who's used open source models knows that using open source models is a completely different paradigm than using OpenAI. With OpenAI, the objective is often to reduce the token count of the prompt, and you instruct it by giving it a list of instructions. Typically, you can have stuff like think step by step, or take a deep breath, or like various different gaslighting manipulations that you shove into the prompt to make it perform 1 or 2% better. But really, it's a list of instructions. I tried that with open source models. I was very naive. I thought that would work. It Nothing got through. The error rate was so catastrophic. It was something like 90% at first. That was bad. Um, so then I started experimenting and learning how to prompt open source models. Turns out that as opposed to creating a list of instructions like you might with GPT, prompting open source models is really crafting a example, a pattern that it can then autocomplete. They're much closer to autocomplete than something like GPT is. So once I had that breakthrough, once I started using GBNF grammars in the early version, then I started making progress, adding stuff like validation, got the error rates way down. Now a huge amount of stuff gets through, and it's pretty high quality too. So
Yeah.
really, the big problems early on were consistency, and just because it's a huge pipeline with like 10 plus steps, each validation step is run 3 times, and the majority vote is taken among those. Like if 2 are no, then it gets tossed. If 2 are yes, it gets accepted and goes on to the next one. Because there are so many steps, even if the success rate is 90% on getting the output format right, at some point something will fail, and that will screw up the entire chain. So your success rate needs to be really, really high. And few short examples are amazing for getting output quality, I found. So really, you asked what the biggest hurdle was. The biggest hurdle was figuring out how to use open source models, because all the papers are about GPT. Most of
Yeah.
them are about GPT. And so I had to figure that out by myself. I really feel that prompting open source models is underappreciated, and like knowledge about it hasn't been talked about as much. It
Agreed.
really should be.
Agreed. Yeah,
So
totally. Absolutely. Um, Look, the tool is great, awesome, and but still, I believe that there are heaps of people who would struggle to implement it, not just because of tool, but just because there is not. This is still a very new field. It is evolving. So, if someone wants to, get your services, do you offer some sort of consultancy? Is there any service like that? Would you please tell us?
yeah, sure, totally. So yeah, so for like specific businesses have a lot of needs. There are tons of cases where a chatbot trained on the business's knowledge would be very useful to their business. So AugmentToolkit fits that use case perfectly, because you can just pass in text with information like a company knowledge base and get out data that you can then use to train a model on that information so that it learns it inherently. This can make it better at tasks, using information uh, in alongside things such as RAG. So yeah, if someone has a proprietary chatbot that they want to train, and they see AugmentToolkit and want to use it, but maybe want a custom version of the pipeline built, or they want to have the settings specifically tuned for the use case, or they just want general advice in making it sure that it works properly and gets through, and specialized debugging. Yeah, I offer consulting on that front, to
Awesome.
help their business get the chatbot it needs.
Beautiful. So I will drop the link
Talent.
to your, sorry,
Yeah.
please.
I was just gonna add the shameless plug of the cat. I turned the project's kind of a lead magnet at this point. No, it's a project, but it also doubles as it moonlights as a lead magnet. My Calendly link is in the project at the very bottom, so people can find that there if they're interested.
Sure thing. And I will drop the link to your repo, and maybe you could shoot me your Calendly link, and I will also put it in the video's description so that people would be easier to reach out to you. So you might be getting a lot of spam, so be ready. Uh, now, having said that, shifting gears a bit, can you please tell us about one or any of your hobbies outside of your work with AI and how you got into it? Because I'm more than sure your life just simply doesn't revolve around Augment Toolkit.
Oh well, recently it has, but yeah, in the free time I do have, I guess it's kind of a boring answer. It's the kind of a typical nerd answer, but gaming and anime. I mean, hell, if I move the camera slightly to the left, you'll see
Oh
multiple
wow,
anime posters.
nice.
So
Okay.
yeah, gaming, anime, reading and writing. I wrote a book when I was young. It doesn't really hold up as well as I necessarily like, but being good at writing is a very, very, very good skill for a prompt engineer. Not only can you organize his thoughts better, but you can just create high quality examples. Lots of my work has been in the AI entertainment space. Like for lots of my client work has been in the AI entertainment space. So being able to write well really helped me out there. So writing is another hobby on that front. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Gaming, anime, writing. I don't.
So tell
I
me about that book, please.
Oh
What
yeah,
book that was?
Humanity Endures. It's a science fiction novel. I wrote it in my 11th grade in high
Wow.
school, I
Okay,
think.
that's
But
big.
it's okay. It's 300,000 words long. It should have been shorter, and it only gets. Here's the annoying thing with that. It's like it gets good after a while, but it that's with 300,000 words, a while is a while. So
I could
uh,
imagine.
I, I I
So
I'm both proud of it and ashamed of it at the same time. I don't know how to feel about it.
all good. So do you want to tell us few of your favorite fiction writers or fiction books, or any all-time favorite?
Oh, fiction writers. Okay. Hmm. So, oh god, I'll probably butcher his name, but Chiyomaru Shikura, the creator. Actually, I don't even if I even got the full thing right. But the author of the Steins Gate VN, not the typical literature, but it is like book length, and it is a narrative work. That he's very skilled and has produced a number of very interesting stories. Very dark, but very good. Um, the in terms of like pure fiction, so much of the best media these days is where the money is, and so that's like
Yeah,
actually outside of books, and it is like more in games and TV shows. So
correct.
like if I had to
That's
say
true.
my best writer, they'd probably be a show producer. But
Yeah,
um,
I can
yeah,
imagine. So any game you're playing these days?
lots of Star Sector, which is like an open world RPG, been in development for a long time. Top down shooter as well. It's a lot of things, but it's fun. And no, I've been coding mostly, just coding in AI.
Okay,
And okay, I have two. Oh, Total War Warhammer 3 is also good. I like
nice.
Warhammer a lot, but mostly code these days.
Okay, they're all good. And what's your favorite dish, by the way?
Favorite dish? Oh, um, depends on the day, but there's a really good doner place near me. They have a chicken platter, and so when I don't have time to cook, DoorDash, $2.
Okay. Oh, beautiful.
That's the daily sustenance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's good and nerdy. I would say meal. So any final message you want to give to the audience? Parting words?
Yeah, sure. So, okay. AI is a very exciting field because it's moving so fast and because it will dominate the state of the world for the next foreseeable future, probably like even beyond that. Um, but it's very important when something new like this is coming out to not get swept up in the storm so much that you forget your own interests. The people who make something great in AI will be applying AI to the stuff they're passionate about. They won't be trying like this doing the same thing that has been done 10 times already or making like yeah, whatever. Find something that you're interested in and apply AI to solving that problem. Don't just go and do this because it's the new thing and you missed out on crypto and feel guilty about that. Um,
Good
as
stuff.
always with anything, find the problem and solve it. AI makes a ton of previously unsolvable problems solvable, so that's exciting. But don't get caught up in the hype so much that you lose sight of what's the actual path forward for you.
Awesome. Beautiful. Well, Evan, thank you so much. Really
Thanks for
loved the
having me.
chat. It was awesome. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, nice being here.